I think there's some blacks, I'm not saying all of them that voted for Trump, who viewed Trump as a rich man, self-made, who understood their culture. What about entertainment? I think entertainment's been a problem.
Right.
I think that, so rap music has changed.
Yes.
You know, when I was in high school, rap music, you know, had groups like KRS-One, Public Enemy,
like
even NWA,
yeah, like
Ghetto Boys and all that. You know, they were pretty much talking about what was going on in the hood. They were talking about police brutality, you know, highlighting it and things like that. By the mid-90s, rap changed and then became talking about partying and women and things. But they didn't, gone was the social message.
But it wasn't just partying and women. It was an active, you know, promotion of thug life, which I think.
But the thug life was still kind of promoted back in the late 80s, but they were giving an explanation for the thug life. Because think about it. I mean, thug life is not something that you just happen to go into. You know, when you're growing up in an environment which is hopeless, where survival is hour by hour, as opposed to, I can see the big picture, right? When you're growing up with a pantry, you can see the big picture. But when you're growing up in an environment where it's like, my survival is hourly, then your life is all about survival.
I see that, yes, but I mean, some of that messaging didn't always come from people who grew up in that. And so I think at some point we shifted from art imitating life to life imitating art.
Well, is that because the suburbs picked up rap? Because remember, MTV would not play rap until 1987. Right. So before then, the only people listening to rap were really us. Right. And then around 1988, 1989, all of a sudden you have white suburban kids coming to school quoting rap lyrics.
Even back when I was in high school, black radio in Houston, Texas, only played rap on Friday nights.
See, New Orleans, we got rap.
No, it was just Friday nights.
Yeah, we got it. We got it all the time. But the thing is, you didn't. But rap changed. Not only did rap change, but the whole concept of money changed. Yeah. And so I think there's some blacks, I'm not saying all of them that voted for Trump, who viewed Trump as a rich man, self-made, who understood their culture. When really, Trump is a man who inherited the equivalent of 200 million in today's dollars, took that money and blew it.
I mean, Park Avenue limousines,
boarding schools, paid somebody to take his SATs so he could transfer from Fordham to UPenn. Trump did all this. And so, you know, Trump committed 34 felonies, still has not spent a day in jail, got convicted, has been investigated by the feds for stealing classified documents, for orchestrating a coup on November 6th, and during that coup tried to have his vice president assassinated. All this stuff. It still has not set foot in jail. Kwame Kilpatrick, while mayor of Detroit, was accused of a bid rigging scandal. Got convicted 28 years in prison. Ray Nagin, the black mayor of New Orleans during Katrina, got convicted of, not fair dealing with contracts and all that bid rigging. 10 years, federal pen. So the thing is, any black person who looks at Trump and thinks to themselves, this guy represents my experience, does not understand or is unaware. But if you're unaware, it kind of doesn't make sense of the history of Trump and the history of men like Trump.
Right, but that But that messaging would only even resonate in like a certain segment of the Black population that's even dealt with the criminal justice system or.
Well, a lot of us have, though. Let's be honest.
Right.
I mean, a large segment of the Black population has dealt with the criminal justice system, unfairly or not. Right. I mean,
But
you know,
I guess my point is that some of the messaging and like much of the thing in, to me, too much rap music is about the moving weight and selling drugs and committing crimes.
well, I have no problem with the talking about the moving weight, and so if you explain the context as to why you did that, right? I mean, think about it. If you're desperate to eat, and there are no jobs in the inner city,
yeah, but it's not all about trying to eat. Like,
but what's your example?
There's a greed motive to that too.
There is,
you can't just say somebody's trying to eat.
What's your example? So the thing is, we all have to have an example. You had examples growing up, right? So that's the reason you had, you know, and also you had a daddy who was a disciplinarian.
Right, but I think to me there's a separation of, you know, between like desperation and just trying to eat, as opposed to greed.
But here's the problem, though, man. You didn't grow up in that world. I didn't either. You know, but what I do know is that if you're trying to eat, and look, man, starvation is painful.
And then survival hour by hour.
Then survival hour by hour. You can't say, well, you can't tell these kids when you're coming home to a pantry with Doritos and Ruffles and all that. You can't come back and say, well, you know what? Look at the bigger picture because I did. I mean, you just can't. Because you didn't have to look at the bigger picture like that.
I mean, I grew up blue collar.
You grew up blue collar, but you weren't impoverished, and there's a difference.
No way.
Let's not go off on that tangent.
Okay.
So, how do we fix the problem, the voting thing? How do we fix it from there? Like, how do we get Black men to see how important it is to come out and vote moving forward, or can it be fixed?
I think it can be fixed. I think we have to have more of a. I think a lot of political candidates need to have more of a community oriented approach to voting.
I would agree with that.
You know, back in the day, what you did was, you had community organizers and all that. You gave money to them.
Yeah.
You know, you let them work on getting out the vote, and you had them spread out across the city. And the only way you're going to do that has to start with the Black mayors, because the Black mayors have to educate the presidential candidates on how to do that. Well, that's what you kind of.
I think it's also in this social media age. I think the podcast, social media, you know, getting the messaging out.
Well, I tell you something. The next person who runs for governor, who wins the Democratic primary in Georgia, they should have a breakfast with every single county commissioner who's a Democrat. And they should sit up there and make sure that those county commissioners know you will support them. And in return, you want access to their machine that got them elected. Because they got elected for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't just because they had a great podcast.
Right.
You know, and I don't know if that's, I don't think that's happening. I could be wrong, but I think that's the type of activism that you need.
I will also add this, is that many of our young Black men, they basically worship athletes, you know, like entertainers and rappers.
But I think this, I mean, look, even if you look at the athletes now, you know, LeBron endorsed her, Steph Curry did. So but at the same time, yes, the type of activism within the entertainment community is different from what it used to be. I think we probably need to go back to that. I mean, in the 60s, you had Bill Russell, Kareem, who didn't participate in the 68 Olympics. Harry Belafonte, Lou Rawls, Sidney Poitier. All these guys were activists. I think part of what happened in the 80s too is that a lot of athletes and entertainers were scared away from activism, or they were. Another thing that happened too in the 80s was, you know, during the Reagan years, first of all, people don't realize you had the greatest transfer of wealth from the middle class and poor people to the wealthy during the Reagan years. People talk about transfer of wealth. Remember when Obama was running for president? Oh, he's going to transfer our wealth to the poor. No, the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of this country happened during the 80s. And what Reagan did was he had enough black people making money that he could shut them up.